Hello everyone, it's Emily here from Peach Street Crafts, and today I am back with episode 4 of my 2023 reading album. Today I am documenting just 2 books for you. This is a shorter video, and this is book number 9 and 10. I believe these were both read in March, or towards the end of March, so that is what I'm doing. If you are new here and you haven't seen my previous videos, I will link those down in the description box for you so that you can catch up. Basically what this album is I challenged myself to read 33 books this year, and I am just documenting and reviewing each one in this little reading album. So hopefully by the end of the year there will be 33 books in here. It's kind of a way to motivate myself. Currently it is the end of June and I have read 15 books of my challenge, so I do have a ways to go, but I'm still working on this reading album. So the book that I'm working on now is called The Vanishing Half, and I read this book with a friend. We both had picked up the same book around the same time, and we had been wanting to read it for a little while, and so we kind of read it at the same time to motivate one another, and then also we were able to chat about it during our lunch. She is a work friend, so I did not like this book as much as I expected to. I was really excited about this one. So the synopsis of this book is that there are 2 twins that live in a really small town. The town is made up of mostly Black and mixed race of people, and they have been kind of feeling trapped in their small town, and they've wanted to leave for a while. They know that if they don't leave now, that they'll never leave, and they'll end up living their life in this town, and they'll never see more of the world. So on the spur of the moment, as teens, they both end up leaving. And I can't remember the twins' names because it's been a while, but one of them, for a little bit, they're living together in New Orleans, and they both have, kind of consistent jobs. They're doing well, until one of them all of a sudden ups and leaves, and she is the quiet one. She's the one that doesn't normally do stuff on her own, and so the other twin gets really concerned at first and kind of like looks for her, but then she gets kind of deeply offended by the fact that her twin sister, who does everything with her, would just all of a sudden leave her to be on her own. So the story follows a couple of different perspectives, and I won't tell you all of them because I don't want to spoil the story, but it kind of goes back and forth in between time as well. So it tells you what happened all of those years when they were split up, what each one of them did, and then it goes forward in time to one of the they each have a daughter, so the daughters kind of connecting throughout time and by chance and getting to know one another. So one of the sisters left and was able to pass as white, and she married this rich white man and hid her past from her family, including her daughter. And so anytime her family or people would ask her about like her roots or where she came from, she would get really nervous because she was kind of not necessarily embarrassed to be Black, but she thought that maybe her life would be a lot different if she were Black, which probably was true at that time. And so she kind of goes through the notion of like leaving her identity, but it has a lot of big consequences for her. One of them is that, she doesn't have any real family to connect with. She's basically living this lie and having to cover it up with even more lies that could potentially hurt her family and hurt the people that she's close to in life. And then the other sister, so the one that stayed in New Orleans, she ends up going back to her hometown to be with her mother, who all of these years, the mother has still held out hope and looked for her twin daughters, knowing that they were alive and hopefully doing well. So the twin daughter goes back, and she kind of meets this man who is actually a kind of like a bounty hunter. They didn't really officially have bounty hunters back then, I don't think. So this was like a nuanced sort of thing, especially in this town and for the specific like group of people in the town who are very sheltered from the world. So yeah, he kind of tells, I think her name is Destiny, that he will be able to help her find her sister because he loves this lady and he wants to, help her in whatever way that he can. I think he does end up finding her, but maybe he hides it from her, or maybe he doesn't. I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, it is a good story, and I think that it is enjoyable for the sense of like lost twins, living very different lives. Also, like, it's a good story about race and class and how it can affect us, even the future generations, when we don't realize it. Like, it really does affect everything. And yeah, I think one of the reasons why I didn't completely love this book was because one of my favorite books of all time is called Homegoing, and that book actually takes place in Africa, and it is about two twins as well who get separated. One of them lives a life in America, is brought to America as a slave. The other one stays with her African tribe in Africa, and they just live very different lives. And each chapter is a new person from that generation. So like that person's daughter, then that person's son, then that person's daughter. So it's really, really cool. And it was really hard not to compare Homegoing to The Vanishing Half because there's a lot of things that are similar about both. But Homegoing is just so good from start to finish. It's so encapsulating, and it has amazing writing. So I think that because I had read that one already, I didn't really like Vanishing Half as much. It was much more slow. There wasn't really a lot of build up, and you just felt frustrated at the characters all the time. So yeah, I think I gave that one 3 out of 5 stars. But my friend really did like it. I think it just depends on what you've read in the past and like what your experiences are with certain books that you read. That all has a effect on our judgment. So now I am working on the second book, and this book is called Sadie. I read this one as an audiobook. This is a young adult novel, which I don't normally read, but I was interested in this one because it has a very different type of style that I'm not used to reading. So this one is also about two sisters, but one of them, the younger one, she's only 13, she gets brutally murdered in her hometown, and her sister, Sadie, blames herself a lot for all of that, and she wants to do whatever she can to give her sister justice and find the person that she thinks did this terrible crime. So she leaves home, and when I say home, they don't really have, like, their mother was very abusive. She was kind of an addict, so she was in and out of their lives. So they lived with this lady who like rented out a trailer to them in the back, who tried to be kind of like a grandmother figure to them. So Sadie goes on a journey to find this guy, and the way that this book is told, it goes back and forth between a podcast, so a kind of like a playwright / podcast writer who gets assigned this case. He's really not interested in it at first, but then he kind of gets really engulfed in it by all of the people involved and everyone who, wants to help find Sadie, but also wants justice for Maddie. There's a lot of like kind of plot twist, I guess you could say. It's not necessarily at the end, but there's some things like in the middle and towards the end that really do surprise you. And yeah, I really like the format of this, and I think it's really going to be popular because, like I said, it goes from podcast episodes to chapters in Sadie's like diary / journal, or kind of just her narrative as she goes to different states to find somebody. So yeah, I think this is going to be a new thing. I feel like it's very easy to read and get into, for one. And then secondly, everyone likes listening to podcasts, so I think it's a great way to get readers a little bit more involved and feeling excited about the reading part of it. So yeah, I'm just making this little decorative pocket. Sorry, I haven't really talked much about the spreads, but I just made that decorative pocket, and you can see I have these enamel dots on the side. If you've watched my other videos, you know that I had some different enamel dots. I have run out of those. I cannot find them anymore, so I just picked up some that were kind of similar to the other ones, but these ones are a lot smaller, so they're really hard to get off of the paper, especially with my nails. So anytime I'm adding enamel dots, I just save you the trouble, and I cut it out so you don't have to see me struggle over the enamel dots for like 5 minutes straight, because that's about how long it takes me. And on this page, I just added like a little kind of white corner pocket sort of thing there. I stitched around this paper, and I tried to stitch around the paper, but it actually just is a bunch of holes because my thread ran out and I didn't realize it until I was done. So I just left it as is because it kind of looks like faux stitching anyway. So I added a couple pieces of chipboard. This is from the Vicky Boutin, I think it's called Wildflower collection. It's pretty old. If you can't tell, I'm using up a lot of my stash for these videos. I'm just trying to get as much out of the way as I can to make room for new stuff that I have coming in. I do really enjoy these collections, so it's not like, stuff that I'm just trying to get rid of for no reason. I also feel like these collections work well because they're very colorful, and most of my book covers are different. So despite what the book cover is, I feel like I can still somehow tie it into these collections. So that's what I am using, and I'll try to keep you updated as the video progresses of, what is what. On the previous spread, you could see it was kind of similar to this one. I added some journaling about how I felt, and I added, at the bottom, I added like a tag and then a car sticker. I try to make it somewhat representative, like the stickers and things that I use. So like that car represents how, I think his name was Earl, like how he was traveling around and trying to find the girl's sister. And they spent a lot of time in the car and like in his truck. So I did that on the other spread. And then on this one, I have like a little bit of a radio sort of Walkman type of thing. That's not exactly correct, but since it's a podcast, I was like, oh, it's kind of like a recorder. But I just put on there for the decorative value. But that is it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. Make sure to subscribe so you get notified when I post next. Bye.